For most young girls, it would be nerve-wracking to stand on stage and get scrutinized by some haughty adults. For Lola, it was business as usual. She had done this countless times before, and she knew exactly what to do. With the sweetest, most inviting smile she could muster, not too big, not too little, she sauntered onto the stage, moving her hips back and forth as she walked. Even disregarding the extensive pageant experience, Lola knew that she had nothing to be nervous about. Just moments ago, she had just vowed one to the judges with beautifully choreographic baton twirling act that ended with them tossing into the air, doing a handstand, catching them between her toes. One of the other contestants were going to top of that. Certainly not the girl who tried to follow her with the act that had inspired underwritten poem about the peace and charities and starving children in some country she's never heard of. Looking downstage, Lola found the judging table manned by some single middle-aged woman with a short bob haircut, inch-long fingernails, and even more makeup than the contestants that she was criticizing. Due to the darkness of the auditorium, Lola found it difficult to make out the judge's facial expression, but she assured herself that it would receive nothing but the praise that she usually did. "Okay, contestant number 8, announced the judge. "Lola Loud, was it?" "Yes, ma'am," Lola said with a curtsy, batting her eyes. "Mm-hmm." The judge took out a notepad and licked her finger and then started flipping through the pages. "Well, darling, your confidence is unshakable," said the judge. "No complaints from me in that department. You know you should know how to flaunt it." She then flipped on to the next notes. "And your attitude? Perfect. Exactly what we want in a pageant queen." She flipped on to the next page. "Your talent? Remarkable. You definitely know how to twirl those batons, girl." Lola had to suppress a giggle with her heart fluttered with excitement. The next category, beauty, was by far her favorite. Confidence, attitude, and talent were the things you could acquire to cultivate. But beauty was something you either had or didn't, and Lola most definitely had it. Her big Bambi-like eyes and her dimples, her cute button nose, and even they were all unmistakably hers, and always would be. Anyone would act like a pageant queen if they practice enough, but Lola was blessed with the ability to look like one, and she even refreshed of the feeling of worth when she even got the judges pointed it out. "Now your beauty, dear," said the judge. "You could use a little improvement." Lola's heart sank as the corners of her mouth. Little improvement? Lola had enough experiments to know what in pageant language. A little improvement was a polite way to say a whole lot of improvement. "First of all, the eyelashes," said the judge. "I was watching you from all the way back there. I could even tell those things were fake." Lola's stomach lurched. She was right, they were fake. Lola had some false fake eyelashes applied before going on stage, under the impression that they would make her look cuter. Apparently not. Figuring that the jig was up, she peeled off by the false eyelashes and let them fall onto the floor. "See? No more fakes," said Lola. "Just my natural, beautiful—" "Don't interrupt," snapped the judge. She flipped through her notepad. "Second of all, let me make something clear," she said, sounding increasingly cold. "Nobody's going to cross my stage with that mole on her face, and like the one you've got on your cheek." Lola gasped at the word mole and instinctively clutched onto her face. Sure enough, she felt a tiny bump just above her cheekbone. The young girl mortified as she let such a glaring blemish go unnoticed. She tried to rub it off with her finger, but to her surprise, the bump had peeled off her face and fell to the floor. "Ugh, those things just come right off. Who knew?" "See? The mole's gone," Lola said, her voice trembling. "So now I'm beautiful, right?" "Not quite, sister," said the judge. "I've got a few more notes." Lola gulped. "Let's talk about that chin," said the judge, as she pointed towards Lola, her long fingernail jutting out like a bayonet. "It's too sharp, too angular, and it sticks out like a violin. I don't like it." Lola grabbed her chin, desperate to reassure herself that it wasn't like that what the judge was describing. Her heart nearly dropped when she saw the piercing snap from just below her jawline. She felt an odd-shaped mess fall onto her open hand, with her breathing growing heavier. She raised the object to her face. She was greeted with a sight that had confirmed her worst suspicion. Her chin had just snapped off. Instead of delivering the apology Lola thought she was more than entitled to, the judge continued her nitpicking. For the record, your cheekbones are so too sharp. Lola's first instinct was to tell her off the judge to stomp it off into the main hall, where she had hopefully find someone who would get her skin reattached. Unfortunately, her body didn't seem to inch from to follow her brain's orders. Her feet just remained planted, while her hands started moving up towards her cheeks. What am I doing? She thought. Somebody stop me! In spite of her internal protests, she felt her fingers acting of their own accord, attached to her own cheekbones, and started pressing down. A sickening crunch was heard of both of them, and a crush was flattened. Oh, and your ears are too big. Once again, Lola's hands bowed down to the whims of the male violent judge. Lola gripped herself by her earlobes, tore them right off of her head like a Velcro, and cast them onto the side. And your nose is shaped weird. Lola gasped. Not my nose! She fought frantically, as she tried to move her hands away from her face. My cheek, my ears were one thing, but not my nose, not my adorable schnozzle. But it was no use. Lola cringed as she felt her fingers coil around the bridge of her nose, grip it tight, and would snap it off her face like an icicle on a rooftop. She then let several nose slip from her fingers and started doubling over, dry heaving, nauseated by the sensation of having such an essential feature about the absent from her face. And those teeth, said the judge. I don't know who tell you about those tooth gasps are cute, but they're not. They have never been. Lola's lips pierced them together, in an instinct to attempt to hide her teeth from the prying eyes of the judge. Lola tried to even open her mouth again, but she felt her bottom and top lips begin to fuse them together into a conjoined mass, sealing her teeth from the world forever. In a panic, Lola pried to the bottom of her face, but no sign of it opening or even seam. Her mouth was gone. Lola's lungs froze in place, apparently realizing that the air was stored with no orifice to exit out. Her respiratory system was now completely dormant, yet her body was somehow able to keep itself from suffocating, thus prolonging torment. And, well, another thing, said the judge, prompting Lola's eyes to bulge out of shock. What more could this possibly lady say to take away from her? Your eyes are too green. I don't like green. It's an ugly color. Pop. Her eyes just undid themselves from their sockets and fell to the floor with a splat, rendering into a completely blind, endless, impregnable sea of blackness surrounding her, leaving her nothing but the soul-crushing knowledge of her face that once proud to call of her own. She was now lying in pieces on the floor of the stage, and in this pain, this shearing pain, was locked tight inside of her body. She had no eyes to which to cry, no mouth to which to scream. All she could do was drop to her knees, pound her fists politely against the wooden stage. You monster! Look what you have done! She bellowed inside her head. You've ruined me! You've destroyed me! You! She ran her hands up down her face, now a smooth, featureless plain, all the bumps and contours ironed out. It was like touching fleshly sanded wood. All the features and details that made her recognizable, made her unmistakable, that made her Lola were gone. My face! My beautiful face! That blank flat surface was the last thing she felt before she woke up.